welcome to the deep dive. When you're thinking about paying for college, it's a huge topic. Most people jump straight to savings accounts or financial aid forms.
Right, and those are definitely important pieces, but sometimes there are other funding sources kind of hiding in plain sight, things you might already have access to.
Exactly. So today, we're diving into some of those, drawing from info provided by Diversified College Planners. The mission: figure out how you, our listener, can use these less obvious options.
Yeah, the goal is really to understand them strategically, maybe cut down that financial burden without getting totally overwhelmed by, all the options.
Okay, let's start with one. Grandparent on 529 plans. They sound helpful, but there's a catch, isn't there?
There is a really important detail, the good part. They don't count as your assets on the initial FAFSA application, so that feels like a win.
Okay, less assets, potentially more aid. Makes sense.
But here's the thing. When money is actually taken out of that grandparent 529 and given to the student for college costs, that distribution gets counted as the student's untaxed income on future FAFSA forms.
Okay, so it helps initially, but then taking the money out could hurt later.
Exactly. It can potentially lower the amount of financial aid the student qualifies for in the following years. It's a bit counterintuitive.
So for listeners, it's really about when and how you use that money.
Precisely. Proper timing is crucial. You've got to coordinate those withdrawals carefully with the whole financial aid calendar, get the timing wrong, and you could inadvertently reduce future aid.
Okay. Good to know. What about Roth IRAs? People usually think retirement for those.
They do, and that is their main job, long-term retirement savings. But they have this flexibility built in for education expenses, too.
How does that work? Could you just pull money out?
Well, specifically, you can withdraw the contributions you've made. That's the money you put in, not the investment earnings tax-free and penalty-free for qualified education costs.
Contributions, not earnings. That's a key distinction.
A very key distinction. And here's another strategic plus. Those contributions you withdraw, they are not reported as assets on the FAFSA.
Oh, interesting. So you could potentially use that money for college without it messing up your aid eligibility.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
But, you need to be really careful here.
Careful how?
Well, you need to plan it right so you don't accidentally trigger taxes on earnings. And, maybe more importantly, you don't want to jeopardize your own retirement security down the road. It's a balancing act.
Makes sense. You don't want to solve one problem by creating another one later. Now, 401ks, lots of people have those through work.
Yes, and they can offer some flexibility, but honestly, tapping your 401k for college, that should probably be considered more of a last resort.
A last resort. Why so cautious?
Because typically, if you take money out before age 59 and a half, you're usually hit with both income taxes and a 10% penalty. That can be a big chunk.
Ouch. Okay.
However, there's a bit of a nuance. 401k loans. Taking a loan against your 401k is different. A loan provides short-term cash, and crucially for the FAFSA, the loan amount itself isn't counted as income or an asset. You do have to pay it back, usually with interest, though.
So a loan avoids the immediate tax hit of a withdrawal.
Right. But it's still borrowing from your future retirement. So the advice is generally, look at all your other options first before you go down the 401k route, whether withdrawal or loan.
Okay, so stepping back, the big takeaway seems to be looking at all these options: grandparent 529s, Roths, 401k, not in isolation, but as part of your whole financial picture.
Exactly. You need to evaluate them strategically, understand how they interact with financial aid rules, and consider the long-term impact.
The goal being to make smarter choices, maybe avoid taking on unnecessary student loan debt.
And protect your own financial future at the same time. It's about informed decision-making.
Right. So the quick hits for our listeners. Watch the timing on grandparent 529 withdrawals, know you can use Roth contributions, and treat 401k funds, especially loans, with caution.
Hopefully knowing about these tools gives you a bit more clarity, a sort of shortcut to being better informed beyond just the standard advice.
Definitely food for thought. So here's something to ponder after this deep dive. Considering these less obvious tools, what parts of your current college funding strategy might be worth a second look to create more flexibility down the road? Thanks for tuning in.